and the neighboring Westfield. Who else is from here? Chicopee, Agawam, West Springfield, Haverhill, no Haverhill, Amden, Homer, Palmer, Longmeadow, Belchertown, Granby, Wilbraham, South Hadley, Dudley. Richard, can you repeat for me? Montgomery. Good, great. Look, if you look what's going on in this state, most of the politicians, I'm not a politician, they always stay, what, east of 495, right? They do not come out here to working people because they think they own people, and that's a small set of people control these elections. That's what they've been doing over and over and over again. We've been out in Western Mass at least 7 times right now. And the reason we're out here is that the working people are in Central and Western Mass. That's what the working people are. All of you. And it's extremely important we recognize that we need to build a movement that goes beyond black and white, beyond left and right, and working people unite. Bottoms up. Bottoms up. And that's what we're doing here tonight. Just look around here. We're doing this bottoms up. And the reason that this needs to be done is because what's happened in this country is that a few set of people think they're going to rig all the elections. They're doing this mail-in voting, right? It's another way to do that. But it's a constant process of a finite set of people thinking they're going to control us. Charlie Baker and the mass GOP establishment collude with the Democrats. That's what they do. They collude with the Democrats. We decided, we've been to about 250 cities. We decided to do another round before the primary, which is going to take place when? September 1st. September 1st, the Republican primary. Why is the Republican primary important? Because the establishment doesn't want us voting in the primaries. Did you know that? They don't want us voting in the primaries because it's like the playoffs. And then you have the final championship. They control the playoffs. Charlie Baker's not Republican. In fact, most of the Republican Party establishment is not Republicans or working people. They've been habituated now to controlling us. And it's very, very important we participate in the Republican primary when we get out and vote. All of us. Why? Because they don't expect us to vote. They have about 140,000 people that Baker always gets to vote in the primary. They always find a designated loser in the Senate race to lose to their Democrat friends. That's how it goes. That's why we don't have a real senator. It's a Republican senator. It's always a Democrat. Have you noticed that? Yeah. Scott Brown 2 years back. The last guy was Ed Brooks, an African American who the GOP establishment did not support, but he was the last Republican senator. And it's not really about Republican or Democrat. What it is about is that the establishment controls the entire election process. They make sure it's not democratic, bottoms up. They don't want it to be bottoms up. They want it to be top down. So in a primary election, they always control about 100,000 votes. They make a bunch of phone calls top down to their RTCs, etc., and they say, this is our guy. And the real guy who comes out of nowhere, that's, they got to keep that guy out. But what we've done with this movement, look at everyone here. We have raised over 20,000 donations. And the press should get that and should start reporting about that. Over 20,000 donations. We've distributed close to 10,000 lawn signs. We've handed out 500,000 of these flyers. We've given out about 10,000 of those bumper stickers. And the reason I want to share these statistics with you is this is what a bottoms-up movement look like. They don't do any work. They don't campaign. Have you seen any of them else campaigning? Have you? No one. It's all top-down. They call their union guys, hey, vote for this guy, and then they force their union below to vote for them, even though most of them don't want to vote for these guys. It's always been a top-down movement. Ours is truly a bottoms-up movement. Totally bottoms-up. And that's how you build truth, freedom, and help, and that's what we're doing today. So it's so amazing that we're out here tonight doing this, rain or shine. We just did the Boston Common. We had about over 100 plus people, about 150 people show up, rain or shine. And then we were just in Worcester. The police came out. And by the way, they want to divide the police from the people. This is a consistent thing. So every election cycle, they always pit black people against white people. Have you seen this? They always bring up something against blacks and whites, right? So every election year, every 4 years. So now they have the BLM guys who are wired into the Democrats, and then they have people saying we should not defund the police. Of course we should not defund the police, but it's not left or right, because the people and the police have always been united. In any revolutionary movement, when people come bottoms up, you know what? The police come to our side. Always. They always come to our side, and they want to create this false division between the people and the police, black and white, and that's what politicians want. They love racism. Elizabeth Warren is a racist. She used race to advance herself politically. Marty Walsh, the mayor of Boston, in 2017, he called me a white supremacist and a KKK member because I and John Medlar, who organized a free speech rally in the Boston Common on 2017, young guys like him and college people were concerned that there was not enough open discourse. There was too much censorship in the classrooms. So John wanted a whole spectrum of discussion, left and right, north and south, Green Party. He invited everyone to speak, right, John? And a week before, Charlottesville took place. And the mayor of Boston and Charlie Baker branded that event as a Nazi event. Why? Because Baker was running against a Hispanic guy, and Marty Walsh was running against a black guy. You see what I'm saying? So they had to act like we are the anti-racists, when they're not. They have perpetuated racism in this state, real racism. And the reason I say that is they haven't built the infrastructure. How do you solve divisions with people? You build infrastructure. Massachusetts got an F minus in infrastructure. And the press needs to talk about this. They don't. F minus minus. Not a B, not a C, not a D, not an F, not an F minus, an F minus minus. That takes a lot of work. F minus minus. And this is rated by the American Society of Civil Engineers, the most prestigious engineering organization. So what does that mean? 125 points out of 350. Crumbling roads, crumbling bridges, horrible water systems. And if you really look at it throughout the history of the United States, it's when we built infrastructure, is when we brought people together. In the 1900s, I want to move over to talking about this forced vaccination nonsense. That Baker, with his Democrat friends, that's right, Baker did that. They think one size fits all. And by the way, the flu shots are highly ineffective from a medical standpoint. What's that? They're highly ineffective. Thousands of papers showing that over and over and over again. So this is not about public health. What it is about is control. It's about control. It's about power, profit, and control. The direct opposition to truth, freedom, and health. That's what this is about. And they do not want someone like me, who got all those degrees at MIT, and that MIT PhD, turning all my weaponry against them. They never expected that, did they? They don't expect guys like me who come from working people. They want us to forget where I came from. But I haven't forgotten you. I haven't forgotten where I came from. I haven't forgotten where I came from, and none of us should. Because everyone here left, whether it was you or your grandparents or your grandparents' parents, we left injustice, right? We came to this country for one singular reason: freedom, freedom, freedom. This country was built on freedom. The First Amendment and the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is what makes this country truly great. It does. No other country really has the Second Amendment. What that amendment guarantees is that we have the right, if the government gets out of line, to challenge the government. Yes, it's good for hunters, but it's about us being able to actually arm ourselves against our government. It's one of the most powerful things that we have, the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. And ever since in 1776, when they gave us that, the aristocracy, the redcoats, never wanted to give us that. And ever since 1776, they've been trying to claw back and take that back. And that's what's going on in this country. When you talk about forced vaccinations, it's not just about forced vaccinations. It's about control. First, They did the fear-mongering, forcing everyone to wear masks, then social distancing, and now forced vaccinations. And what are we going to do to that? Are we going to say yes or no? Are we going to say yes or no? No, no, no. There's no way they're going to get away with this. And the reason they're not going to get away with this is because this time it's not going to be, oh, we're going to simply accept this because you got a scientist here. You got a guy who got their degrees, and I'm considered one of the leading guys on the immune system in the world. One of the leading guys. So it's not some conspiracy theorists that like to brand us. The bottom line is this is what science teaches us, that everyone here is unique, not only from a spiritual perspective, but from a biological perspective. One size does not fit all. 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 And that's what they want to do. They want to view us as a blob, right? Give everyone the same medicine, because that's very, very profitable, okay? It's not about public health. None of this is about public health, because if they cared about public health, they would be talking to us about boosting immunity. Boosting immunity, right? Building community was what we're doing here, and boosting immunity. The number one reason that human beings live long is not just because of eating well or exercise. You know what the number one reason? Because we are in fellowship. We have friendships. We feel good with family around us. You have a couple here. 50 years you've been married, right? 50-year anniversary right here. Okay? 50 years. We live long and vibrant in our immune systems. We lower inflammatory molecules and we boost antimicrobials. Proven fact, 1988 landmark study in the New England Journal of Medicine, the work of Stephen Cole, which shows that when you socially isolate people, they get depressed, you create inflammation in their body, which leads to all sorts of horrible diseases, and you lower antimicrobials. Number one, we build fellowship, not this social distancing nonsense. It's nonsense, okay? The way we build immunity, the way we boost immunity is we build community. And that's what we're doing here. Number two, the sun. God gave us the amazing sun. We're supposed to be out in the sun. Vitamin D3. They told all these black people to go inside. And they had the highest problems. You weaken your immune system. And remember, it's not the virus or the pathogen that attacks you. What is it? It's a weakened and dysfunctional immune system. And I was the only guy who brought this out. Fauci didn't bring it out, did he? No! Did Bill Gates bring it out? No. Mark Zuckerberg? No. Hillary Clinton? No. The Kennedys? No. Because they don't want to teach us what the truth is. Because if it's about getting the sun, hanging around family, boosting your immune system, that's pennies. They want us to spend millions, trillions of dollars for an industry that they're creating. Follow the money. Follow the money. That's what this is about. And what they've done in the last 6 months is 600 people increase their wealth by $2.3 trillion. 600 billionaires. Meanwhile, 38 million Americans lost jobs. A lot of people here, their businesses got destroyed. That's what they did. This was not about public health. This was not about helping the economy. This was about attacking a sitting president because he was building an economy. He was going after the establishment. And they didn't like that. And they don't like us. They do not like working people. What they like is they like their lawyers. Okay? They like what's that? They like control. And the way they control us, that's happening right now, is Charlie Baker found some fool who's got 100 Twitter followers, another lawyer, to run against us. But we're not going to let that happen, are we? Because what do lawyers do? Lawyers make cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching money by billing by the hour. They don't solve problems. How does a lawyer make money? Oh, I got a problem. Oh, really? Great. How long can I keep that problem going? How long can I keep that dispute going? The longer the problem goes, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Everyone here, if we don't solve problems, we get fired, we lose our jobs, we lose our customers, our businesses get shut down. You follow what I'm saying? We're not one of them. They're them. We got to start electing people who are one of us. I came from nothing. Many of you came from nothing. I came from a world in India where we were considered untouchables. You talk about racism, it was racism on steroids. My family was supposed to pick coconuts the rest of their lives. They left that country because this country offered freedom. That's why they came here, and that's why you came here, or your grandparents came here. All of us are the same people. We came here because of freedom. And what did this country offer me? It offered me the opportunity to study hard. I worked my butt off. I learned to mow lawns. I learned to paint. I learned how to program software. By the time I was 14, I created the first email system in the world. It wasn't done at MIT. It was done before I came to MIT. In a working class towns of Newark, New Jersey. That's where innovation takes place. Innovation, anytime, any place, by anybody. But they want to teach us, you got to go to MIT or Harvard, and then you get anointed. You see, the problem is, I've been in both worlds. I've been with nothing, and I've been to their worlds. And I'm taking our weapons, and I'm aiming it back at them. That's what we're doing. We want truth, freedom, and health. And the way we get that is to recognize that power comes from us. That's where it always has come. And they want to teach us that the power comes from them. We bow to Joe Kennedy. Why? Because he's a Kennedy? Come on. Markey, 50 years there. Can someone tell me one thing he's done? Anything. Nothing. He's got the new Green Deal. We made fun of it. I told Ocasio-Cortez, I'll give you $50 million and we'll raise for you if all your mathematical models work. They don't. The realities, they are dependent today on fake science. The fake news behind fake news in 2020 is fake science. What Trump did for fake news, I'm attempting to do for fake science. What's happened to this country? What's happened to this country is academia now practices the oldest profession. You know what that is, right? The oldest profession, okay? That's what academia practices. You pay them enough, they'll tell you CO2 is a pollutant. You pay them enough, they'll tell you, yeah, vaccines are the only way to build your immune system. And if you do a video that goes viral to 5 million people that vitamin D3 is good, they call up YouTube and they take it down. Right? That's what they do. And if you tell them zinc stops viral replication, that's got to come down. And if you tell them iodine improves the thyroid as people age, which helps them create vitamin A, they take that down. But Fauci, that little Fauci guy, he's allowed all time long to talk about his friendship with Gates, etc., and Hillary Clinton. That's what they do. And the most insidious thing they do is they give you misleaders. They give you misleaders like this guy, Robert Kennedy Jr. He says he's against vaccines. Well, what has he been doing for 15 years? He endorsed Hillary Clinton. This is a really insidious part of the establishment. It's not the obvious establishment, it's a not so obvious establishment. Let me repeat that. It's a not so obvious establishment. On the left, they have this foolish guy, Bernie Sanders. He fooled a lot of young people, right? Up in UMass, a lot of young, sincere kids. They followed that idiot. Guy never worked for a living, and that's who they follow. And on the right, they do the same thing. They have people like Charlie Baker, the not so obvious establishment. The only way we're going to win, and we have to win, it's not about suffering, it's about winning. And the way we win is by all of us winning by bottoms-up movement. We don't need acknowledgement from the Boston Globe. We don't need to be in the Boston Herald. We need to make sure 100,000 lawn signs get planted in, right? We need to make sure a bunch of bumper stickers going. We need to make sure everyone knows that they got to vote in the primary, because it's the primaries, it's the playoffs that determine who gets into the general elections, in the championships. And that's how we win. We got to win, because 2020 is going to be about freedom or slavery in this country. That's what it's about. And I've traveled to 56 countries. I lived in a third world country. This country has the most amazing people. The American people are some of the most innocent, the most kind, the most sincere, but they can be naive. They do not understand that countries like China want to eat us up. They have not a 5-year plan, not a 10-year plan. They have a 1,000-year plan. And they're colonizing this country. You know, we were out in Springfield, right? We saw that Chinese flag running on that railroad manufacturing, right? So what is occurring in this country, what is occurring here is colonization. First, it was trading. Next, it was outsourcing. And next, they're paying off politicians, Republicans and Democrats, to buy this country up. And that's what's happening in academia. And the only people that can protect us is us. Do not rely on these politicians. Do not rely on these lawyers. In this election, I'm running against 3 lawyers. Think about that. Markey, lawyer, Kennedy, lawyer, and some fool, I'm not going to give him any advertising, that Baker chose to lose. They hire designated losers. Who are you looking at here? I've solved problems all my life. 7 companies. I know how to fix problems. I actually fix them, okay? From this thing to whatever. All of us fix problems. We got to start putting one of us in, not one of them. Does that make sense? No more one of them. And when it comes to this forced vaccination, and when it comes to separating families, and all these great signs people have, you know what it's about? It's about top down. The government saying that they know better what's for your health. And what they're actually trying to tell you is, give away your responsibility to us. Be slaves. Because what a slave does, he gives away his choices. Okay, fine, I'll take all those vaccines. Now, it's not about pro-vaccine or anti-vaccine. It's a right medicine for the right person at the right time. You got it? It's a right medicine for the right person at the right time. And that's what it's about, which demands that all of us start taking responsibility for our health, not top down. Step 1, you can go on the website. We have a Health Rights Act. That act says, number 1, we need to repeal the 1962 Kennedy Vaccination Act. But what is Robert Kennedy and the Democrat friends? Well, we're going to hopefully try to keep your medical exemptions. They're going and begging to these legislators. They tell people not to protest. And now when people are getting angry, they do their protest, but they try to control it. That's what we got to watch out for. Are you following me? The establishment is very, very clever. If we get angry, they'll do some fake protests. That's what they do. But it's time we get smart. So the Health Rights Act, you can see it on the website. I've already put together a bill, which means we eliminate all the middlemen. We have direct relationships with our doctors. And that's how we build health sovereignty. Freedom. Big tech, 5 companies today control our freedom. 5 of them. Google, Facebook, Twitter, AT&T, and Verizon. That's who controls us. There was an institution called the Postal Service. It wasn't just about to be for postal mail. Go read the 1792 Postal Service Act. When Washington and the founders created that, it was for all of us. We're supposed to be the press. All of us. Because the king was watching our mail, intervening, and stopping it. What's that? Turn down the volume? Someone's saying turn down the volume. Okay. We listen to our audience. Thank you. Is that better? Is that better? Okay. What? Okay, officer. Thank you. So the bottom line is this, that without freedom, you can't do science. And what's happened is these 5 companies today control our communication. The Postal Service was set up in 1792. The founders were such visionary people. So all of us could be the press. I could send you a communication. If anyone intervened, it was a 22-year sentence in prison. That was the Postal Service. But it wasn't just about postal mail. In 1997, email volume overtook postal mail volume. And you know what was supposed to happen? The Postal Service should have resurrected themselves and offered us public email, the public equivalent of YouTube, and the public equivalent of Facebook. As a 29-year-old kid, I met with them. I said, do you know freedom is being jeopardized? You guys should offer an equivalent. I bet you Americans would pay you about 25 or 50 bucks a year, and you could have that. They didn't listen because they didn't innovate themselves, because they're run by a bunch of bureaucrats. Postal Service today is going out of business, right? It was actually an amazing institution. And the Digital Rights Act, you can go read it, says the Postal Service needs to reinvent itself and offer us an alternative to Facebook, Google, and Gmail. Why? It may sound like a weird solution, but it's the only solution we have, because the founders who founded this country were men of skill. Washington was a farmer. Jefferson was an architect. You know, and if you look at Franklin, he did everything, like all of us. They weren't just lawyers. But today, 70% of Congress is lawyers. They're the ones who created this, and you can't be voting for them anymore. So Digital Rights Act, I've already put it together. It's up online. It's the second bill I'll work on. And the third one is called the Citizen Science Act. Because the academics, those people at MIT, Harvard, and I know all these guys, they've become one of the most corrupt people. They do some research. You and I give them our money to fund research. Oh, let's go research hydroxychloroquine. Oh, okay. Fauci wants us to say it's dangerous. Okay, let's write up a paper. They publish it. Well, what happened was they got caught because in the Lancet, Did you guys see this about a couple of months ago? Lancet is the #1, one of the leading medical journals. In that journal, it said hydroxychloroquine is dangerous.
Yes, yes,
right? Well, someone said, show me the data. There was no data. There was no data. They lie. They cheat. They tell us CO2 is a pollutant. CO2 is not a pollutant. What is a pollutant is pollution is a pollution. Pollution is a pollutant, right? But they try to bamboozle the Paris Accords for quote-unquote climate change, the new Green Deal. Well, the Paris Accords, go read it. It actually allows China to double their pollution from 11 billion metric tons of carbon to 22 billion. Do you guys know that? Double their pollution. So by 2030, China will have to buy carbon credits. And you know what? People like Al Gore and a couple of his buddies are going to become trillionaires. It has nothing to do with pollution. Just like this forced vaccination or this, the fear-mongering coronavirus has nothing to do with our public health. What it has to do with is power, profit, and control. Because Big Pharma right now, and I want to close with this, is losing a ton of money. They're not making money on their drugs. Their drugs are losing them money because we can sue them. They're regulated. Vaccines, no regulation. You can't sue them, thanks to Ted Kennedy. Because in 1962, they passed the Kennedy Vaccination Act. 1986, a lot of people are getting injured. Young people, young children. Instead of getting rid of the Kennedy Vaccination Act, what did Ted Kennedy do? He created the National Vaccine Injury Program, which protected Big Pharma. We can't sue them. Do you know that?
We can't. That.
Ed Malarkey co-sponsored that. Okay? So look at what we got. We got a Kennedy, and by the way, Joe Kennedy's for forced vaccinations, and Robert Kennedy, who's supposedly against vaccines, endorsed his own nephew and did a fundraiser for him. You see how this works? They're all one big incestuous clan. So, 1986 Vaccination Act protected the vaccine manufacturers. We can't sue them, but in a vaccine court. 1962's got to get repealed. That's what we want to talk about. So we have the Citizen Science Act, which is part of our thing for truth. We got to make these academics accountable, which means we fund academic research. They do research. It has to go into the cloud. It's our data. I want to see the climate data. Don't you want to see it? Where's all this, right? And that's what they've done today. And when you look at science, science was to be the noble quest for truth. And how did you get there? You had debate, you argued, you did an experiment. Wow, that apple falls from that tree. How does that fall? Oh, I see. I do experiments over and over again, and I come up with a mathematical model, which is what Isaac Newton did, and that mathematical model has stood the test of time. Every time an apple falls from the tree, you can predict exactly the force between the apple and the earth. That's called science. Well, what have they done with climate change? They have 40 different models which predict 40 different answers of how much ice is going to melt on the Arctic. One model says 0 and the other model says 100%. That's not science. That's called bullshit. Okay? That's what that is. It's indeterminate. It's not science. But you got people like Markey, you got people like Bernie Sanders, and obviously people like Charlie Baker, who's trying to pass the Transportation Climate Initiative, TCI, which is going to tax all of us working people. That's what they do. They make some fear, and they make us pay for it. That's what's going on. So think about it. In 1776 and before that, there was a king. And what the king did was he said, I'm going to protect you. 30% of whatever you have is mine. Taxes. Right? That's why we had a revolution. Now we pay around 60% to King Baker. Nothing has changed. He's a redcoat. These people are redcoats. They're not us. So, what's that? Charlie Parker. So, this time, you have one of you. And the choice is simple. Are we going to vote for lawyer lobbyists again, or are we going to vote for one of us? MIT PhD, solves problems. Who are we going to vote for? Who are we going to vote for? That's right. We got to vote for us. It's time that we stop being abused. We can't be abused. Okay? We got to vote for us because this is about truth, freedom, and health. 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 Come on, guys, I can't hear you. Truth, freedom, and health. Truth, freedom, and health. Truth, freedom, and health. Truth,
Freedom and health. Truth, freedom and health. Truth, freedom and health. Truth, freedom and health. Truth, freedom and health.
that's right. This is America. We are Americans. We are working people, and we will unite beyond black and white, beyond left and right. Working people unite, and the police and the people will always be united. Always. Always. We will protect our cities. We will protect our towns because they're not going to do it. So it's time we come together. Truth, freedom, and health. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, everyone. Let's win. Look. Everyone here, here's what we got to do. Everyone, make sure you vote in the Republican primary. Everyone going to do that? Pledge it right now. Everyone. You got to vote for Shiva for Senate in the Republican primary, September 1st. And then I want you to tell 10 other people to do that. 100 other people. That's how we win. That's how we nuke the establishment. Thank you. We have tons of lawn signs here, okay? If you need lawn signs, we got t-shirts, we got bumper stickers. It's all for you. There's no charge. Whatever we have, people will get here, okay?
Thank you.
Take your bumper stickers.